Welcome back. Well, in today's world, it's all about respecting space. So whether that means wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, or just good old-fashioned social graces.
Here's a lady who's all about respect. Camille Monk owns a social development company called Children and Youth of Esteem. She also has formal training in protocol and etiquette, and she's here to teach us a few things. What's up, Camille?
Good to see you,
Good
Camille.
morning, ladies. How are you?
We're doing okay. It's always great to see you. How are you doing?
Listen, I'm hanging in there, doing my best.
Good for you. You know,
That's all we ask.
it's all about space. I think lately, whether we're at a party, even with friends, people need to observe space in very small groups, gatherings, but also when we're out in public, it's probably more critical than ever in our history.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we have to understand that times have definitively changed. What we did 4, 6, 5 months ago, we are no longer practicing those same social etiquettes. So things have changed, and we must respect the new restrictions and the new guidelines and respect others' boundaries and others' space.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up respect, because that's what people say. Well, what does respect or etiquette have to do with it?
Well, it has a lot to do with it, because what's going on now is we are really adapting a new normal. And with a new normal comes new ideas and new ways of doing things. So it's important that when we are in public, or if we're at a barbecue, or if we go to the DNC, or wherever we find ourselves, we should always be thinking not just of ourselves, but of everyone around us. Because we have to understand, everyone has a new heightened fear of, COVID-19 and what it could possibly do to them, their family, and others. So respecting that space, being 6 feet apart, not sitting so close, making sure you are wearing a mask, doing those things to make sure that others are comfortable is key and important when you're talking about etiquette and protocol.
I'm glad you brought up comfort, because I want you to touch on human decency, if you would. I mean, the reality is wearing a mask is not comfortable. It makes us feel sweaty. It makes us break out. It makes our glasses fog up. So there are a lot of, personal discomforts with it. But when you think about the fact that people's lives are on the line, maybe not your own, but someone close to you, someone older, someone who has an immune that's compromised, or just someone who happens to get a very severe case of it, our own personal comfort has to be secondary.
And I think what you just said, Molly, is so important. Keeping that in the forefront, that you could possibly be affecting someone else. If we keep that thought process, then it will be much more easier for us to become accustomed to our new way of doing things. Hey, I love wearing a good lipstick, but I can't do that with a mask. And I'm okay with that, especially if I know I'm going to be in public. There are some comforts, some creature comforts that I have that are no longer acceptable or okay in public right now. And I have to be okay with that, because I have to consider others. I must wear a mask. I must do my best to stay 6 feet apart. And if I don't hear a thank you or an excuse me, maybe it's because they have their mask on. So I'm not going to be so easily offended if I don't hear those immediate social graces and immediate etiquettes. Everyone's on edge right now.
I'm glad you brought that up too, just the feelings behind it, because it's even hard, for people to sense how you feel. We can't really see smiles the same way. We can't see, the same expressions that we're used to being able to see from being able to see our mouths. We're trying to read eyes now, which is a lot different even in itself. How do you think, classes that you're teaching, whether it's, social graces, whether it's a class on civility, all those kinds of things, how do you think those are playing into today's day and age, especially with kids?
Well, so right now it's absolutely important, because I have a 7-year-old, and I know other children and other parents are. I do my best to shield him from a lot that's being shown on social media and via the news, with people becoming angry and doing very, very, just wild things that are not a part of decency to people in public. So really training him. I tell my son, Winston, when we are in public, it is imperative that you have your mask on and you stay close to mom and dad. When you see someone walking down the aisle, I always taught him, you always walk to the right so that the people coming towards you have space to walk on the other side. Those things are key to really put in the forefront in the minds of children now, because we are really having to ingrain in these children now respect and decency, because as we're seeing, some people just are not following those basic human guidelines of being decent right now.
Yeah, and being courteous. I think it's such an important reminder. And I think we also have to keep in mind that things probably won't be changing, maybe ever. This is not just for the short term, this is long term.
That's the truth. You are so right, Molly. And being able to adjust. We are human beings. We were created to adjust, and to adjust maybe not instantly, but as we see the world progressing, it is our duty to adjust to make sure that we create a safer space and a comfortable existence for all of us. I always tell people now, if you're going to an establishment, call the establishment or check online for their new COVID restrictions. Don't show up, and if it says requirements are to wear a mask, and it says that, and you go into the establishment and cause a ruckus, well, that's not fair to the establishment. And we're seeing that now.
Absolutely. Such great advice. Thank you so much, Camille.
You're the best. Thanks,
ladies.
Camille.
It's so good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you too. And people can revisit our website, themorningblend.com, to check on all the great things that she shared with us about human decency, courtesy, and respect.